Avengers Endgame is the 22nd movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the 4th movie in this Avengers quadrilogy, and the final movie in this Infinity Saga in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's crazy that it's all finally led to this. I think I speak for everyone when I say this was the most anticipated movie of the year. Everyone was just out of their mind excited for how this, franchise was gonna end. Or at least how, this story of this franchise was going to end anyway. I certainly was. I mean, Avengers Infinity War, as great as it was, it ended on the biggest cliffhanger of recent years. The villain Thanos was on the highest high, and the heroes, the Avengers, were at their lowest low. We were all like, how are they gonna come back from that? How are they gonna respond? And what I love was the marketing for Avengers Endgame. It didn't give away a thing. Everyone came in here with so many questions. Nobody knew exactly what was going to happen. And I can finally say, having seen Avengers Endgame, did it live up to the hype? I thought about it for a while. It's safe to say, Avengers Endgame, this movie was unbelievable. It was amazing. It was indescribable. It was so awesome, so great. I'm so happy I'm finally talking about it with you guys. This movie was just, it was fucking kick-ass. That is an official spoiler warning. If you have not seen Avengers Endgame yet, I actually wouldn't be too surprised because tickets for opening weekend sold out in about an hour of being released. So if you haven't, don't watch this video. Go out and see Avengers Endgame, come back here, then watch this video. There you go. Also want to give you guys a heads up, seeing how this is a 3-hour long movie and it's Avengers Endgame, there is a lot for me to talk about, so this is probably going to be a long video even for my channel, so make sure you have the time to see this. Alright, I've given my warning, I've said what I need to say. Let's finally talk about Avengers Endgame. First of all, I love that the opening scene touches on Hawkeye and what went on with him and his family when Thanos snapped his fingers. You just see him having a picnic, his sons are playing catch, his wife is cooking dinner, you see him teaching his daughter how to use a bow and arrow. At one point, Hawkeye just turns his back very briefly and then he turns back around and his entire family's just gone. We all kind of predicted that his family would be among those who disappeared. We saw in the trailer that he was alive, so we knew he wouldn't. But I do love that it established that because I love what it eventually does for Hawkeye's character later on, which I will get to. But now the movie flashes forward about 3 weeks later. Tony Stark and Nebula, they're just in a ship, just floating adrift in space. Tony Stark makes that little message for Pepper Potts saying, hey, I'm probably gonna die, but I love you, and I'm gonna remember you as I do die. But then out of nowhere, Captain Marvel shows up, and then she brings the ship with Nebula and Stark on it back to Earth, back to the Avengers headquarters. My guess is the post-credit scene or the mid-credit scene from Captain Marvel where, they're analyzing the pager that Nick Fury had, and she arrived and she said, where's Fury? They probably explained to her what happened. They told her about Stark and Nebula being still out there in space. They probably sent her to go find them. She found them and then brought them back. I know a lot of people were saying it's very convenient that Captain Marvel just happened to find them, but I don't think it was quite like that. My guess is, when she came to Earth, that's when they debriefed her, and then she went to find them. Now at this point, all the Avengers are back together. Captain Marvel's with them now, and she's all like, alright, let's go kill Thanos. And they're just all like, yeah, it's really not that simple. The guy straight up made the Hulk his bitch without the power of any Infinity Stones. Now he has the entire gauntlet. But the Avengers, at this point, they feel Thanos still has the Infinity Stones, probably. And at this point, the Infinity Stones, they're the only things that could possibly bring back the people who disappeared. Their idea is like, maybe we can get the gauntlet from Thanos, get the Infinity Stones, maybe we can snap with it, and, everyone will just come back. Conveniently enough, they're able to find this planet in space where a similar surge of energy has come off from that planet, the same one that did on Earth when Thanos snapped his fingers, so they'll deduce, oh, that's gotta be where Thanos is, and I love the line Cap gives. They all know where he's at, they know what they have to do, and Cap's just all like, let's go get this son of a bitch. So yeah, they go to this farm planet where Thanos has just been chilling this whole time, and they very quickly take him down. They just pin him, they cut off his hand, they cut off the gauntlet, but they also see in the gauntlet that the Infinity Stones are gone. At this point, Thanos reveals them. It's like, oh, that surge you all detected? Yeah, that was me using the power of the stones to destroy the stones, so what I did cannot be reversed. It nearly killed me doing it, but that's how I ensure that my plan is secure. At this point, Thor's just pissed off, so he takes Stormbreaker and he just straight up cleaves Thanos' head off, and I love the Avengers just ask him, like, what'd you just do? And Thor says, I went for the head. Now the movie takes place 5 years later, and it's right here the Avengers are just basically trying to pick up the pieces. You see Captain America, he's basically doing what Sam Wilson was doing for a very long time, basically having these like group therapy sessions, talking to people who are trying to find their own way back into the world. A lot of the Avengers have just gone out to different parts of the galaxy, different parts of the world, just, you know, trying to maintain peace with what is happening in the world. I mean, Captain Marvel, she's gone back into the galaxy to do her space travel that she was basically doing towards the end of Captain Marvel. She's rocking a new haircut now. I'm pretty sure the kind of haircut that Captain Marvel usually has in the comics. I don't know if that was the intent, but it was a pretty good looking haircut. What I really love about this scene right here is we see a little bit more of Black Widow's vulnerability, which is something we really haven't seen in pretty much ever, I feel. She looks really glum. You can tell she's just lost pretty much all hope. She was like, we could have done it. We could have stopped him. We couldn't. And, you know, Captain America, he's trying to make her, you know, feel better. You know, trying to say, you know, some people can move on, but we can't, not us. And then the movie flashes to a junkyard. We see this little rat just like scamper across this van, well, this control panel in this van, and it turns out that activates the transporter that brought Scott Lang, Ant-Man, into the quantum realm, and now he comes out of the quantum realm, and he's just like, okay, what the hell's going on? But what we learn right here is Ant-Man has apparently been in the quantum realm for 5 hours, but those 5 hours have been 5 years in real world time, because Scott Lang, he's just going around the world, he's seeing how everything's so empty, everything's basically in shambles, and he's wondering what the hell happened. He eventually visits this memorial site that has the names of all the people in the world who disappeared. At first he's freaking out that Cassie, his daughter, was among those who disappeared, but as he's going through the list, he sees that his name is on there, and Scott Lang's now piecing it together. He's like, okay, when I was in the quantum realm, that must have been when all of this happened, so everyone just assumes that because I wasn't around, I was just killed. I do love this moment. He eventually goes to his old house and he reunites with Cassie, but Cassie, it being 5 years later, she's a teenager now. She's a big kid. And now Scott's beginning to realize, okay, I was in the quantum realm for 5 hours, but apparently it has been a lot longer than that in real world time. It's right here, he goes to the Avengers facility, and they're all amazed to see that he's alive, and he explains to them what's up, but he begins theorizing the quantum realm, and he's like, I was in the quantum realm for only 5 hours, but it turned into 5 years here. Maybe time works differently in the quantum realm. Maybe, just maybe, we can use the quantum realm to travel back in time and potentially stop all of this from happening. And the Avengers now begin theorizing, maybe we could go back to certain points in time, get the Infinity Stones before Thanos gets them, we bring them back to this point, and we can reverse the effects and bring everyone back. I really love seeing this theory right here. I mean, one of the theories that I think a lot of people had was the quantum realm would be how they would bring people back, but I didn't know it would use the time travel element for it. And now at this point, it's about getting the band back together so they can pull this off. And now it's right here. We see where the other Avengers have been for the last 5 years. First, we go to Hulk, and we find out at this point that Bruce Banner and Hulk have basically now become one. Banner reveals to the group, he's like, oh, for 18 months I was doing some research, I was doing some experimenting, and I finally was able to embrace myself and the Hulk as one being, and now I'm this big, super strong Hulk, but I also have my intelligence, so now I'm just one amazing being. I really like seeing that right there because I was curious to see how everything between Hulk and Banner would go on in this movie, seeing how the Hulk didn't want to come out to play at all in Avengers Infinity War. I thought this was a fitting way to do it, and it's really cool seeing all these little kids be his fans now. Yeah, Hulk's not really raging out anymore. He's just, you know, taking pics with kids and dabbing on everybody. But now they feel, alright, Banner's obviously super intelligent. If anyone can help us out on this, he probably could, so we gotta bring him on board. They also sent Hulk and Rocket to New Asgard in Norway for them to recruit Thor. I see New Asgard is just basically this little village now. I mean, it's a really tiny village at this point because, as you know, at the beginning of Infinity War, half of the Asgardians were killed, and then I imagine the other half disappeared when, you know, Thanos went snap. It's cool seeing some of the Asgardians who did survive. Valkyrie survived, Korg survived. But now we see what Thor has been up to this last 5 years, and Thor's not in very good shape right now. He's got his long hair back, but he's well, he's a big fatty now. Basically, he's been spending the last 5 years just drinking a lot of beer, playing a lot of Fortnite, and just dealing with a lot of anxiety, a lot of panic attacks at this point. Because what I love seeing right here is Thor right now, he feels the most responsible for what happened in Infinity War. He feels the most guilt. Because right when Thanos completed the gauntlet, he came in charging in with Stormbreaker. He chopped him right in the chest. He thought it was done, but Thanos told him, was like, you should have gone for the head. And, you know, then he snapped his fingers. And now Thor's thinking to himself, yeah, I should have gone for the head. If I had just gone for the head, everything would be fine. Everything would be okay. But Thor, now hearing that there is a chance they could bring everyone back, he comes on board, and now they're thinking, okay, now we gotta go get Tony Stark. And it's here we see Tony Stark has finally settled down. He's just living in this little cabin. He and Pepper have finally gotten married, and they've also had a 5-year-old daughter named Morgan. This was an element that I really loved seeing with Tony right here. It's great seeing him finally settle down with Pepper, being a husband, being a father. It's really sweet seeing the relationship that he has with his daughter. You can tell that he is a really good, loving dad. And of course, the Avengers, they want to recruit him into helping, but he doesn't want to do that because at this point, he's like, you're talking about time travel. I could risk losing my daughter, losing my family. I mean, I can't do that. What happened was horrible, but I had been able to settle down and find a life, find a family. That is something that Tony Stark has been lacking since really the death of his parents. And they try to explain to Tony about using the quantum realm to, you know, create time travel. And Tony Stark talks about it like, guys, that's impossible. I mean, there's no way we can find a way to harness that energy to bring ourselves back in time. It's just not going to work. But what I like seeing right here is, you know, when Tony's back in his cabin after the others have left, you know, he's doing a little more tinkering. At one point, he looks at an old picture of himself and Peter Parker, who, of course, was among those who disappeared. And you feel like that gets him to feel like, you know what? I should take a look at this. And, you know, he does a little bit of research, and he does realize that there is indeed a way to use the quantum realm to go back in time. And he's just like, holy shit, so this can be done. We can do this. He talks with Pepper about it. He even explains it to Morgan as best as he can, and he's just like, I have to do this. There's a chance to bring everyone back. I have to try. So now he reunites with the group, and it's him and Banner basically working together to try to figure out how to use time travel to pull this off. But there's still one more person they need to recruit. They send Black Widow out to Tokyo to recruit Hawkeye. And now it's right here we see what Hawkeye has basically been up to, and Hawkeye is back to basically being an assassin. He's basically been traveling around the world, and he's taking out these crime bosses, taking out these murderers, basically taking out the bad people that are left in the world. And yeah, I really want to get into right here. This is by far and away the best Jeremy Renner has ever been as Hawkeye. Hawkeye is more badass in this movie than he has been in any of the other movies, and I like him in the other movies. Just the way he goes into Tokyo and takes out this crime mafia that's there. He just takes them all out by himself. He's like armed with a samurai sword. He's cutting down everyone. He's basically a ninja assassin now. I loved seeing this with Hawkeye right here because you feel right now that with his family gone, you know, him being an assassin, that's all he really has now. He wanted to retire from all that just so he could spend a life with his family, and now that his family has been taken from him, this is all he knows now. Black Widow, she sees that, she knows she needs to help him, she knows he can help them, and, you know, she's finally able to bring him back to the Avengers, and now they got the whole crew, and now it's time to get to work. Now with the group all back together, it's basically them figuring out, okay, we know we can pull off this time travel, but the problem is we only have enough energy for each person to go back to one certain point in time and then back to present day. You can't screw this up. Each person gets one round trip and that is it. So you gotta go back, get the stone, come back. If anything goes wrong, then it's over. There's absolutely nothing that anyone will be able to do. So what I like seeing right here is they're obviously trying to figure out, okay, where do we go to and at what point in time do we go back? But I do like seeing the group being able to deduce, hey, wait a minute. In 2012, when Loki invaded Earth, he had the scepter, which contained the Mind Stone. He was going after the Tesseract, which was the Space Stone. And there was a New York sanctum for the wizard, you know, Doctor Strange people, which is where the Time Stone must be. So really, if we go back to the right point in time, there are 3 Infinity Stones all in one place, New York City. You put the pieces together and you're just like, yeah, that's true. There were 3 Infinity Stones in one city at one point. They also deduced, all right, in 2013, you know, the events of Thor the Dark World, that's where the Ether was on Asgard, so someone has to go back there. In 2014 was when Peter Quill found the Power Stone, so someone has to go back to that point in time. And we also need a group of people to go to Vormir to get the Soul Stone, and we have to do this all at points in time before Thanos did this, so we don't run into him again. So that's right here, all the groups divvy up. You have Thor and Rocket going to Asgard, you have Black Widow and Hawkeye going to Vormir, you have Nebula and War Machine going to the planet that Quill was on when he found the Power Stone, and then I don't know how many people, but everyone else, you know, goes to New York City. What I also love that this movie does right here is the way it explains time travel. Because right before they're about to go back in time, Scott Lang inquires, so wait a minute, if we go back in time and we acquire these stones and we just come back to this point in time, isn't that gonna mess everything up? Isn't this entire world gonna be different? You know, like the butterfly effect, you know, if you kill a butterfly, it's gonna drastically alter the present. What I love is the way Hulk explains, he's like, nope, that is not true, because you going back in time is gonna change that reality, but you're coming back to this reality, so nothing here is going to change. You're still going to be the same. So I guess at first, you think it's gonna be like Back to the Future 2, which is what they allude to in the movie, and then Scott Lang's all like, wait, so you mean Back to the Future is all bullshit now? That was really funny. I like that they addressed that because that is what everyone was probably thinking when watching this movie. I was gonna say, as much as I love the element of time travel in movies, it's honestly one of my favorite elements to see. It does get confusing sometimes, but here's how I pieced it together. From the way Hulk explains it, it kind of harkens back to how it worked for future Trunks in the Cell Saga and Dragon Ball Z. You know, in Trunks' original timeline, the androids came, they killed all the Z fighters, and they laid waste to the Earth after Goku died from the heart attack. But in his future timeline, a medicine was developed for his heart attack, or his heart virus rather, so Bulma sends him back in time. He gives Goku the medicine, which is going to change that timeline so they can stop the androids, but when he goes back to his future, everything is still the same. Nothing has changed for him. That's exactly how it is for the Avengers in this movie. When they go back in time and they're going to do what they're going to do, they're going to come back to their timeline. They're not going into the alternate reality that's going to happen at those points in time. Once I made that connection, it all made sense for me. Yeah, now everyone gets armed with these new suits, basically these Ant-Man suits, so they can go through the quantum realm, of course. Cap gives that whole great speech. It's like, this is it. This is the fight of our lives. This is our chance to bring everyone back. We all have one shot, no mistakes, let's do this. And this right here is where the movie only just gets better. Because what's so great, what's so awesome is seeing the group going back to different points in time, you know, from previous Avengers movies. It's great seeing some of the coolest moments from these Avenger movies, of everything just going on from a different angle, from the character's perspective, but also in the fact that these characters cannot interact with their, you know, selves from that timeline, because that's just gonna mess everything up. So anyways, here in New York, Hulk goes off to find the time stone. He eventually encounters the Ancient One, who was in New York. It was really cool seeing how she was doing some of the battle, you know, in her temple anyway. She's taking out some of those Chitauri. I know some people were probably wondering after seeing Doctor Strange, wait a minute, if these sorcerers were around this whole time, why didn't they help the Avengers stop the Chitauri? Well, apparently they did to an extent. They just didn't want to make themselves seen. But yeah, you see the Ancient One. She's wearing the necklace, and Hulk's trying to take it from her, but she's like, yeah, I can't let you do that. And then finally, Hulk explains to her what's going on. But what's cool right here is, again, she does explain the element of time travel a little bit more. She's like, when you do what you do, if you're going to take the stone, take it. But you have to bring it back right here to this point in time, because if you do not, this reality is going to branch out into an entirely different one. So yeah, your reality will be fine, but you have to come back to save this reality too from turning into something entirely different. Hulk makes the promise, and I do love that the Ancient One brought that up, because that's why, okay, if they come back and bring the stone back at this point in time, then, you know, everything's just gonna flow seamlessly. It's all gonna be one continuous timeline, as it should be. Nothing's gonna branch out, nothing's gonna change. But now it's right here at this moment. You have, I believe, Iron Man, Ant-Man, and Captain America. They're seeing the group just as they took down Loki. They got them all chained up. They've got the Tesseract. They've got the Scepter. And what's so awesome right here is seeing exactly what did happen. Obviously, S.H.I.E.L.D. was still a thing at this time. They do have an encounter with S.H.I.E.L.D. You see Alexander Pierce. You see a couple of the other guys from the Winter Soldier who you knew were actually Hydra, just, you know, posing as S.H.I.E.L.D. And see the Avengers just, you know, assuming that, you know, Hydra was S.H.I.E.L.D. They hand them the Scepter. They go into the elevator. Captain America, though, the real-life Captain America, well, not real-life Captain America, Endgame Captain America, there you go. He goes into the elevator because he's going to go after the Scepter. And what I love is you see all these members of Hydra get into the elevator. It looks just like the scene in the Winter Soldier, and I'm thinking at some point Captain America's just going to go, before we get started, does anybody want to get out? So no, what I actually love is Captain America looks at the guy who had the Scepter, and he just says to him, no, it's okay. The Secretary sent me. I know what's up. Hail Hydra. He just walks out of the elevator with the Scepter and all is well. It's just awesome. It's like, yeah, it's just That's how easy it was to get an Infinity Stone. I guess nothing's impossible when you have America's ass, right? Unfortunately, it's not over for Cap yet because he runs into, you know, the Avengers timeline Captain America. His other Captain America, they've, you know, crossed paths, and, you know, present Cap is thinking, oh shit, I just screwed everything up. But what works is past Cap looks at him, he's like, Loki must have escaped. He's posing as me, and, you know, Endgame Cap is just like, okay, yeah, okay, I guess I'm gonna do battle with myself. It's really cool seeing the two throw down, see the two of them just throw their vibranium shields at each other, and at one point, you know, one of the Caps just says, I can do this all day. Then was just like, yeah, I know. Eventually, present Cap does beat past Cap, so, you know, he's able to get out of there with the scepter. And now you have Iron Man and Ant-Man going after the Tesseract, and at first you're just thinking, alright, Ant-Man's just gonna shrink down, he's gonna go into the suitcase, he's gonna get the Tesseract, and everything's gonna be good. Unfortunately, though, some complications happen, a bit of commotion goes on, the Tesseract just falls out of the suitcase, and it's at this point, Loki, who is in prison, he gets his hand on the Tesseract, he escapes with it. I'm interested to see how that pans out later, because I've heard that Loki is getting his own miniseries or something. I'm wondering if that's what's going to lead into it. But yeah, now at this point, Ant-Man and Iron Man, they're just like, well, fuck, we screwed up. That was it. That was our one shot. It's over. And thinking, oh shit, Cap got the Mind Stone, Hulk got the Time Stone. It's like, but we couldn't get the Space Stone, we fucked up. I love they're all still deliberating, maybe there's a way we can still do it, but then they realize it's like, wait a minute, the Space Stone was found in 1970. Maybe instead what we could do is we could use that one jump to go back in time further to 1970, and from there, we also get the Pym particles that Hank Pym was working on at the time. We can use those to get back to the present, so we still have a shot. I like seeing that it's Cap and Tony electing to work together for right here, because obviously, you remember from Civil War, there's probably still some tension between them. You felt that in the beginning of the movie. And I love one of the moments right here. Tony looks at Cap and he's just like, do you trust me? And Cap just says, I do. And they go back in time and they're gonna go get the stone together. I like seeing the two of them really work together. Like, you know, at this point, it's like, it's not just them working together with a team, it's the two of them just working together. They go back in time, Cap gets the Pym particles, Tony Stark gets the Tesseract, but it's also right here, he runs into a younger Howard Stark. And you see, it was right here around this time. This is when Howard and his wife were pregnant with Tony. They were about to have him. And what I love seeing right here is you get a real heart-to-heart conversation between Tony and Howard. You know, Tony's talking to Howard. It's like, oh, I got a kid back home. You know, I was terrified of that. And Howard's like, what do you do? How do you get through it? How do you prepare yourself for that? Because I'm horrified. At one point, Howard's like, the biggest piece of advice I can give to my son is that he doesn't turn out like me. It's the kind of moment that you feel like Tony needed, because you feel like he still needed that kind of closure with his father that, you know, maybe was kind of lacking this whole time. Even at one point, right before Howard leaves, Tony gives Howard a hug, which, you know, is great for Tony, but very, very awkward for Howard. And, you know, as he's getting to limo, he talks to his butler, Jarvis, and he's like, I feel like we've met him before. It's like, yes, you have. You don't know it yet. So yeah, now all three of the stones have been collected. That team goes back to the present with all of those. And now I'll flash to when Thor and Rocket were on Asgard. They have to go find Jane because they have to extract the ether from her. They have to bring that back with them to the present. But what I love seeing here is you see more of the anxiety with Thor, because he realizes that they're in the moment when his mother died, and he's thinking, oh, great, I could go back. Maybe I can save my mom and everything will be okay. She'll still live. I'll still have her. As he's trying to explain to Rocket, he's like, I lost everything. Like, my brother's dead, my best friend's dead, my father's dead, my sister turned evil and she's dead. It's like, I lost everything. Maybe I can at least save my mom. All of Rocket's explained to him, it's like, Thor, I get you want to do that, but that's not our mission. We have to get that reality stone. We have to bring that back to the present, because if we don't, there are a lot of families out there that are never coming back. And Rocket at one point tells him, like, I have a family that I'm trying to bring back. I need you to help me there. It's even during this time, as Rocket's able to get the ether from Jane Foster, Thor does encounter his mother again. And his mother, she does know that this Thor is not of this timeline. She knows this is of a Thor of a different timeline. But what I love seeing right here is his mom just continue to be a mom to him. She's like, whatever fate is in store for me, I will accept it. That's my fate. That's my destiny. Your destiny is saving the universe. You have to go do that. That was one of the elements that I liked about Thor the Dark World, is just seeing the role that Frigga had, seeing her be the mother to Loki, and now we see her be it here to Thor. But I do love, right before they leave, Thor decides, hold on, before we go, just holds out his hand, and he gets Mjolnir, and he's like, yes, I'm still worthy. And they go back in time, now with Mjolnir and the Reality Stone. I'll jump to when Hawkeye and Black Widow go to Voidmere to get the Soul Stone. You're just thinking, alright, how are they going to pull this off? I mean, you imagine one of them's going to have to die because that's how you get the Soul Stone, but the question is, what is exactly going to happen? So, of course, they meet Red Skull. He takes them to where they need to go. He shows them the cliff, and, you know, he gives them the whole spiel that he gave Thanos. And what I love seeing right here is the two of them are basically arguing, okay, who's going over the edge for the stone? Hawkeye's trying to tell Black Widow, it's like, look, I've done some really fucked up things. My family's gone. I don't have anything left to live for. We don't even know if this is going to fully pull off. It has to be me. Let me do it. But Black Widow says to Hawkeye, it's like, the whole reason we are doing this is to bring your family back. You gotta let me go over the edge. Let you have a life with your own family, alright? I don't have anything else out of this. It's like, it's better if it's me. But you can tell neither of them want to sacrifice one another because they have that love for each other. Those two are best friends. They don't want to sacrifice the other one. So it's cool seeing them basically have this little mini brawl over who's going to go over the edge. You know, at one point, you know, Hawkeye just throws her to the ground. Then, you know, she shocks him. And then he shoots a little arrow at her to, you know, keep her from jumping off. And at one point, Hawkeye does leap over the edge. You're thinking, okay, so it's going to be Hawkeye. But then Black Widow, she's able to come through. And, you know, Hawkeye's trying to save her, trying to pull her up, and you see it right here. It's a really sad moment. Black Widow looks at Hawkeye and she's just like, you have to let me go. And Hawkeye's like, I don't want to, but he knows at this point that he does have to do it because eventually, you know, his rope's gonna give. They're both gonna fall. So he does what needs to be done. He lets Black Widow go. She falls and Black Widow dies. That was a sad moment right there. I going through some of the heroes I felt would die, I didn't think Black Widow was going to. Which does now have me wondering what's going to happen with the Black Widow movie. My guess is it's now definitely going to be a prequel or a back in the past kind of movie. But, I mean, the question is what are they going to do with it? Maybe they'll explore on that Budapest thing that she and Hawkeye always talk about. But it's going to be interesting. Anyways, Hawkeye now has a Soul Stone. Now he can go back to the present day. And finally, let's get into Rhodey and Nebula going after the Power Stone back into the time when Guardians of the Galaxy was happening. What I love is we're at the point where Star-Lord was just, you know, rocking out to his tune, just singing along, just going after, you know, the Power Stone. And you see Nebula and War Machine just looking at him like, this guy's a fucking idiot. But what I love seeing here is it was exactly right around this time when Thanos really started looking for the stones. Because around this time, he's obviously sent Ronan, he sent Gamora, he sent the Nebula of that timeline to go out there and find the Power Stone. Yeah, War Machine and Nebula, they were able to get the Power Stone. They're just like, alright, we're going back in 3, 2, 1. And, you know, Rhodey, he goes back. Nebula, though, she's not able to leave. She's like interfering with what looks like some kind of like bad internet connection in her brain or whatever, and she can't do anything. You realize it's because of the connection she has to the Nebula of that timeline, and soon enough she gets abducted by Thanos of that timeline, and he's, you know, doing some research on her, and they're trying to figure out, okay, how's this happening? How are there two Nebulas here? What's going on? They start doing some digging into Nebula's brain, and they find out, oh, so she's from the future. They've come back to a point to collect the stones because Thanos now sees that in the future, he succeeds with his plan. So now that Thanos knows about this, he's like, alright, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep this Nebula right here, and I'm going to send my Nebula back to that present timeline, and she's going to take care of everything for me. She's going to get me the gauntlet. And you're just thinking, oh, shit, Thanos is maybe going to pull it off again. Because it kind of goes back to a theory that, you know, some people have about time. It's like, time can't be corrected. It's like, whatever is meant to happen is going to happen. Some destinies are just inevitable. A word I'll get to later on. But anyways, now the group is all finally back. They've collected all the stones. They've put them into this Iron Man kind of gauntlet. That was an area that did surprise me because at first I thought that the only thing that could, you know, contain the power of the stones was, you know, something that was forged in the heart of the dying stars. It was implied in Infinity War. I mean, at the same time, Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, they are geniuses. The technology they've created is very high tech, so I mean, it didn't totally lose me, but I don't know. I guess you could wonder, it's like, I mean, dying star technology, that's probably as amazing as it gets, but, you know, it's still Thor and, wait, not Thor, it's still Hulk and Iron Man, there you go. So I was able to roll with it. So anyways, Hulk decides it has to be me who wears the Infinity Gauntlet. I'm the most powerful one here. I'm the only one who's going to be able to withstand the effects that happen. Everyone's just fingers crossed, all like, please work, please work, please work, please work, please work. And you really feel Iron Man just has his heart in his throat right now, because he literally says to Bruce, he's like, look, snap the fingers, bring everyone back, but please don't erase anything that's happened. I don't want to lose my daughter. So, Hulk wears the gauntlet. It's taking an effect on him. It's a lot of power. It's a lot of energy. And, he's able to snap his fingers. And everyone waits a minute. And they're just like, did it work? And at one point, Ant-Man steps outside. He sees birds chirping. You see, Hawkeye's phone ringing. You see it's his wife calling him. And they realize, holy shit, it worked. I think we did it. Unfortunately for the Avengers, though, the Nebula that came back is not the same Nebula. She then, is able to summon Thanos to Earth, and Thanos destroys the Avengers headquarters. Now, at this point, Thanos just comes in with his really awesome dual-ended sword, and he's just all like, you couldn't just leave it alone. I discovered that I brought balance to the universe. I did what needed to be done, and you are so ungrateful that you are now going back in time to stop me. Well, guess what I'm gonna have to do? I'm going to ensure that this does not happen again. So after I get the stones and I snap my fingers and do this all over again, I'm gonna lay waste to this entire planet, and I'm gonna smile as I do it. Like you see right here, now this whole thing has become personal for Thanos. Now another huge battle goes down between the Avengers and Thanos. The goal is like, alright, do not let Thanos get a hold of the gauntlet or everything is screwed. At this point, present-day Nebula has, been rekindling the relationship between herself and the 2014 Gamora, and she's like, you have to work with me. We have to stop Thanos. Gamora's begun to see that, she's obviously, wanted to stop Thanos this whole time. So, the two of them work together. They destroy 2014 Nebula. They join the fight. They take on Thanos. And yeah, initially the fight between the Avengers and Thanos, yeah, it's really intense. It's awesome. And soon enough, we get one moment in particular that's just holy shit, fucking awesome, amazing. Thor's doing battle with Thanos. It's so great to see Thor dual wielding at this point. He's got Stormbreaker in one hand. He's got Mjolnir in one hand. That's just fucking awesome. At one point, Thanos is coming in with a Stormbreaker against Thor. He's trying to just kill Thor with that, but then Mjolnir comes flying in, just boom, hits Thanos in the head. And at first you're thinking, oh, okay, Thor was just controlling Mjolnir, but Mjolnir doesn't go back to Thor. Instead, you see Mjolnir fly right by him, and boom, Cap catches it. I tell you, the audience just went absolutely insane when that happened. Thor's all like, I knew it, because it harkens back to the moment in Avengers Age of Ultron when Captain America tried to pick up the hammer, and it moved very slightly, but he wasn't able to pick it up entirely. I was reading a comment on one of the YouTube videos, and one fan theorized that the reason the hammer moved slightly is because Captain America was almost worthy, but the reason he couldn't hold it was because it harkens back to what happened in Civil War when, you found out that Bucky had killed Iron Man's parents, and Captain America never told Iron Man, kept that away from him. And, but at the end of Civil War, when Captain America sent Iron Man the note and the phone, he said, I should have told you. I thought I was protecting you. I realized I was protecting myself. Tony, I'm sorry. It's like it was in that moment Captain America became worthy of wielding Mjolnir. I was reading that comment, I'm just like, yeah, that actually makes perfect sense, actually. And it's just seeing Captain America fight with Mjolnir and using his shield to fight with it, it's so awesome. But even with that, you quickly realize that Thanos really does have the upper hand against all of them, and soon enough, he summons his entire army to come join the fight. Thanos just has everyone who has served him by his side. He's got the Black Order, he's got the Chitauri, he's got those giant space worm things from the first Avengers movie. And right now, the Avengers are just thinking, oh fuck, how are we gonna beat them? I'm saying they're like, how are they gonna beat them? But then at one point, we get what is just, oh my gosh, just one of, I think easy enough to say, one of the greatest moments ever in movie history. You hear someone on Captain America's intercom go, hey Cap, and you think for a second, you're like, is that Falcon? And then even Captain America is like, Sam? And then you hear Sam go, on your left. And you look to Cap's left, and on Cap's left, you see one of those magic portals that Doctor Strange can create open up, and through the portal emerges T'Challa, Shuri, and T'Challa's mother. And now the Avengers theme just really kicks on, and a bunch of other portals just open up from everywhere, and you see literally everyone, and I mean everyone, like anyone who is a superhero, any good guy who's had some form of superpower at any point in this franchise, all join the fight. Like every hero who disappeared comes back. The Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, you know, all of them come back. Valkyrie joins the fight. The Wakanda army joins the fight. The Asgardian army joins the fight. The other sorcerers join the fight. The Wasp joins the fight. You even see Pepper wearing her own kind of Iron Man suit. She's in this fight. You would just see this fight and you're going absolutely insane and ballistic. You're just like, holy fucking shit, this is incredible. It's even seeing the look on Thanos' face. He's just like, oh, fuck. And finally, the icing on cake, you finally hear it. Captain America finally says the words. With all these people by their side, Cap just goes, Avengers, ding, assemble. And yeah, Thanos' army, the Avengers army, they all go into absolute war with each other, and it's the greatest battle in the history of superhero movies ever. This puts all of the past amazing final battles to shame. The New York battle, the airport battle, the Wakanda battle. All of them pale in comparison to this. This is as great as it gets. This is everything you want. It is so thrilling. It's so exciting. It's just incredible seeing all of these different heroes together in this amazing fight. There's one moment in particular that really didn't have much to do with the fight. You just see Peter Parker go up to Tony Stark and he's like, oh, Mr. Stark, it was so weird. At first I disappeared and then I woke up on that planet, but you weren't there, and then Doctor Strange conjured the portal and now I'm here. It was just going on and on and on, and you know, Tony Stark just cuts him off. He just goes in and he gives him a hug. And Peter just hugs Tony back and he's like, oh, this is nice. It's just a moment that it tugs on your heartstrings. You watch it and you just go, aw. Look who's come around. But this fight, it just has everything you could want. It's so exciting. It's amazing seeing everyone's powers. It's great seeing some things we haven't seen before. We finally see Spider-Man use instant kill, which is, you know, him using the iron Spidey suit to just stab a bunch of Thanos' henchmen to death. It's great seeing Thor and Captain America use each other's weapons to fight. At one point, Thor says, no, you know what? I'm taking the axe. You get the little one. I mean, Thor's all like, yeah, I'm not the only one who's worthy anymore, so I need the cooler weapon. But there is one moment in the fight, Iron Man sees Doctor Strange and he looks at me, he's like, you said you saw 14 million different futures and only one of them we won. Is this the one? And Doctor Strange looks at Iron Man and he says, if I tell you what happens, it won't happen. Which is very, very important for later on, which I will get to soon, but the fight's going on, everyone's teaming up, everyone's just doing what they can. It's also around the midpoint of the fight, you see something in the sky just come in, you see Thanos' warship just get absolutely destroyed, and you're all just like, oh, that's Captain Marvel, alright. And yeah, Captain Marvel, she's now here. She has joined the fight. And yeah, she knows Thanos is eventually going to get the gauntlet. She has to try to stop him. And at one point, you do get this big frame. You see all the female superheroes together just charge into battle. Was that scene meant for feminism? Yes, but you know what? It was a cool scene. I roll with it. I don't care. It was sweet. But what I do like seeing right here is this movie showed a little bit more of just how powerful Captain Marvel is. I think it illustrated more so than Captain Marvel did, because she goes into battle with Thanos and you quickly see, I mean, obviously she took out his warship, which she already did in the previous movie, but at one point Thanos, after he's got the gauntlet, he's about to snap his fingers, she goes in and she's just throwing down with them, and you know, Thanos at one point tries headbutting her and it's just boing boing, just nothing happens. She doesn't feel anything. It's like, oh, okay, you are that powerful. At one point she's trying to get the gauntlet off of Thanos, but what I love seeing right here is Thanos, like, at one point removes a power stone, just has that in his fist, and he just goes boom and just punches Captain Marvel in the face, sends her flying. At this point, it's just really intense. All the heroes are just focusing everything they can on Thanos. You know, Captain America's going after him, and at one point, Thanos just uses his sword and it just straight up destroys Captain America's shield. Yet that's right, Cap's shield is broken in half, which is now making me think, oh man, is this like the vision that Tony had in Avengers Age of Ultron? Looks like Thanos is gonna conjure up all the stars, but at one point Doctor Strange, he signals to Tony, he does something with his hands, it's like a sign to Tony, it's like, go in there, make one last move. And Tony, you know, he flies in there, he does a brief little tussle with Thanos, you know, and at one point Thanos just throws him off of him, and Thanos, he looks at Tony and he says, I already told you, I am inevitable. Nothing happens. Snaps his fingers, just nothing. But you see right here that in that little tussle, Tony took away the Infinity Stones. He's got them in his own little Infinity Gauntlet, and he looks at Thanos and he says, "And I am Iron Man." Now Iron Man goes snap, and when this happens, everyone on Thanos' side, they disappear. The Black Order, the Chitauri, and at one point, Thanos is just sitting down. He realizes he's lost. He realizes he fails, and then he vanishes. That does bring up one question right there. Does that mean that the user of the Gauntlet, the user of the Stones, they can actually control which ones disappear? In which case, why did Thanos ultimately choose not to make sure that all the superheroes disappeared? I don't know, maybe in Thanos' mind, he wanted it to be a random lottery, as he always proposed it should be, so I don't know, maybe that's just why he felt that was what would be fair. But yeah, as we already saw, the ability to do that with the Infinity Stones, the ability to make that snap, it takes a toll on you. It affects you. It nearly killed Thanos when he did it. It badly hurt, Professor Hulk when he did it. Tony Stark's just a man. He's just a guy. He can't take something like that. And unfortunately, it's right here. He's laying just against a piece of rock. You can see him dying. You see the little arc reactor in his chest. It's slowly starting to flicker. Everyone just gathers around him. I mean, you see Peter Parker trying to talk to Tony Stark. He just breaks down. He starts crying. The worst part of it, though, is when Pepper goes up to him. She's like, "Tony, it's okay. You're going to be fine." And, you just see it in Tony. He knows this is it. He knows he's going. And yeah, eventually, soon enough, and this is easily the saddest part of this movie. I'm honestly actually getting worked up just talking about it, but yeah, that's Iron Man, Tony Stark. He dies from doing that. He dies, he's gone, that's it. It was honestly a really fitting ending. It was the perfect way for Iron Man's story to really wrap up here, but it absolutely breaks your heart. Guys, it made me cry. Watching in the movie theater, I cried when it happened. Like, really, that's 2 years in a row I've cried to a movie. I'm fucking going soft or something. But that right there just really shows the character development that has been in this franchise. How attached you get to all of these characters. And you almost feel like, especially in the case with Iron Man, because he's the one who started all of this. It began with Iron Man, and now it ends with Iron Man. Soon enough, after all this is done, a funeral happens for Tony Stark. They put the old arc reactor that said proof that Tony Stark has a heart in this little flower lily. They send it floating out onto this lake. They have this big funeral for Tony Stark. You see pretty much everyone he's ever had an impact on is at this funeral. All the Avengers, all the heroes. You have General Ross, Samuel L. Jackson's there, Maria Hill is there. At one point, you do see this one teenage kid there, and I'm just like, who is that? Oh, holy shit, is that Harley from Iron Man 3? I looked it up when I got home, and yeah, it is Ty Simpkins, the one who played Harley from Iron Man 3. He's obviously a few years older now, but yeah, he's even at the funeral. Once I did that research and once that clicked with me when I got home, I actually think I ended up crying a little bit more, because I'm just like, oh man, they even had the kid from Iron Man 3 there. Oh god. At one point, you see Happy just sitting there with little Morgan, and he's all like, do you want some cheeseburgers? And she's like, yeah, I want cheeseburgers just like daddy. And he's like, I'm gonna get you all the cheeseburgers you want. You're just like, yeah, he is. But we still have a little bit of movie to wrap up here. We need to see exactly what's gonna happen with some of the other Avengers. I really love the way they wrap up Captain America's story. At this point, he's like, okay, I need to go back in time and I need to return the stones to those timelines that we got them from, so, as the Ancient One pointed out, their realities don't get, skewed. He also needs to bring Mjolnir back. Because Mjolnir's not from this timeline, he's gonna put that back as well. So he's like, alright, I'm gonna go back in time. I'm gonna be gone for a while, but for you guys, it'll be like 5 seconds. And Hulk's like, alright, we're gonna send you back. Alright, now we're gonna bring him back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But then Cap doesn't come back. Soon enough, it's at this point, Bucky and but it's right here, Bucky and Sam, they see a very old man sitting on this bench not far from them. They go to the bench and they discover it is Captain America. It's Steve Rogers. He's just really, really old. And he reveals to them, it's like, well, as I was delivering everything, I decided, you know what? I'm going to go back to my point in time. I'm going to go spend a life with Peggy Carter. I'm going to live that life that I never got to have. I'm going to spend it with her. And then I'll come back here. He says when I come back here, I'll be really, really old because I will have lived my life. You feel like right there, that's the perfect ending for Captain America, because honestly, I was almost certain that Captain America would be among the heroes who would die in this movie. But I do actually feel like that's a really fitting ending for him. You know, he got to go back in time. He got to live the life that, you know, he didn't get to live because he was in ice for 70 years. He's like, it's time for me to pass the torch, so he brings out the shield and he hands it over to Sam and he's like, it's your time now. You are the new Captain America. I'm sure a lot of people were surprised that he didn't give it to Bucky, but I actually thought it was very fitting that he gave it to Falcon, because obviously one thing to keep in mind is some people still remember Bucky as the Winter Soldier, you know, the terrorist who killed a bunch of people. I mean, obviously we all know now that it was because of Hydra mind controlling him, but I'm sure not everybody knows that. Some people are still gonna maybe see the Winter Soldier holding the shield and they're just gonna be like, wait, what the fuck? Why are you Captain America? You were a terrorist. I think it's fitting for Falcon to be the new Captain America because, you know, he's obviously basically been Captain America's sidekick for a while now. You know, he's grown under him. He's been under his wing. You know, Captain America's been his teacher to an extent. And, you know, now he's the master. You know, the student has become the master, essentially. It does make me excited for what they could do with Falcon in future Marvel movies if they choose to go that way. I would love to see Anthony Mackie in his own standalone Marvel movie. And finally, we get to Thor. And Thor at this point has decided, you know what? It's not my time to be king. This just isn't who I am. And he looks to Valkyrie and he says, you're going to be the new queen of Asgard. I'm going to leave new Asgard to you. And I'm going to join the Guardians of the Galaxy, who have, you know, 2014 Gamora, part of the crew now. And, you know, he and Star-Lord have a little bicker back and forth over who's going to be in charge. That definitely has me excited, though, for a few reasons for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I'm like, oh, okay, is Chris Hemsworth going to be a part of that? Is Thor going to be a part of it? I really hope so. I really don't think he would join the crew if Chris Hemsworth wasn't going to come back, because I really do feel like Chris Hemsworth has a lot of fun as Thor. I think Chris Hemsworth is a great actor. I would really love to see him in Guardians of the Galaxy, because I gotta tell you, some of the moments between the Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor in Infinity War were some of the funniest moments in the whole movie. I think having them all together could make for a great superhero comedy like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies should be. And obviously with Gamora now being alive again, her being back, but her not really knowing really what a whole lot is, not really knowing who Star-Lord is, I think it could be interesting to see, you know, Star-Lord trying to rekindle the relationship with Gamora, even though Gamora doesn't really know who he is. I also thought that was a really smart way to technically bring Gamora back to life, because I wasn't so sure how they would execute it. I figured she would come back, but I thought this was the right way to do it. Oh, also, going back to Captain America really quick, you do go to a point back in time where you do see him in a home with Peggy. They got a little record player just playing a song, and the two of them are just, they're dancing together. They're finally having their dance. It was a really sweet moment, and again, it really just, it wraps up Captain America's story perfectly. And yeah, that's pretty much where everything wraps up with all of the heroes, and that is where Avengers Endgame concludes. So all in all, Avengers Endgame was amazing. It was indescribable. It was fantastic. It was awesome. It was everything it needed to be and more. All the characters do so great in this movie. Everyone just gives such a great performance, especially Robert Downey Jr. I've heard there are some fans campaigning for him to get an Oscar nomination. I would totally be on board with that, because honestly, I could argue this is the best Robert Downey Jr. has been as Iron Man. The movie did such a great job with its marketing, not giving away anything. I loved being surprised by so much in this movie. I loved seeing the element of time travel. I was totally able to get behind that and buy into that's how they can reclaim the stones to save everyone. The story is fantastic. I love seeing the role that Thanos does play in this movie, how it's not really his movie like the last one was. He's just solely the villain in this movie, and I think it's a perfect role for him in this movie. The movie has great humor. It has excitement throughout it. There's not a single moment in this movie where I was bored. The movie's 3 hours long, but at no point did it ever feel like it was 3 hours long. This movie had me sucked in from start to finish. The action scenes are some of the best action scenes I have ever seen, really, in my life. Certainly in a superhero movie. That final battle, I don't know how any superhero is ever going to top that ever again. The movie has such an emotional weight to it. I did not think it would really hit me the way it was. I was hoping going into this movie would make me cry. I didn't expect to cry the way that I did, though. It really got to me. In the end, this was the epic conclusion that this unbelievable franchise has absolutely deserved. What's going to happen next with the MCU, I'm really not sure. But honestly, if the future MCU movies really just suck, I don't care. You know what? You gave us an amazing franchise where really, I look back on all 22 of these movies, there's not a single movie that I hate. There's some that I don't like as much as others. There's some that I just think are okay. But really, this is a franchise where all these movies are fun. I think all these movies are at least enjoyable. And that's amazing. That's something truly special that Disney can really say they accomplished. They gave us this 22 movie saga that really, I'm not sure how it could have been done better. Not all movies were great, but to have 22 movies that are all at least fun and you can have a good time with, some of which have been absolutely incredible, I don't see how you top that. And I'm not sure if we're ever going to see something like this ever again. Will they reboot this again somewhere down the line? Probably. You know, I'm sure the DCU will try to do their thing here and there, but we're never going to see anything like this ever again. This was something really special, and I am so blessed and I am so thankful that I got to be along for this ride. Thank you, Marvel, for making this happen. And you know what? A huge thank you to every director, actor, everyone out there who was involved in the MCU for so long. Thank you guys for really committing to this project. You guys will probably never see this video, but I know I speak for myself and every fan out there. Thank you for being on this 11-year journey, giving your everything, doing what you needed to do, just really making this a big part of your life for the decade, because all of us fans, we all so much appreciate it. I know I appreciate it. I love you 3000. So that's all I'm going to say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe. I will see you all next time.